In 2021, Parliament amended the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets Authority (PPDA) Act to include Article 50, which provides that women take 30% of the government procurement and bids. However, more than a year down the road, the government is yet to formulate the implementation guidelines, which will then be issued to different ministries, departments and agencies. This has reportedly affected businesses owned or led by women, majorly in accessing and securing contracts from government. The study by the Africa Freedom of Information Center notes that women-led businesses can only access 1% of government contracts, and majority of these are within Kampala and Wakiso districts.
Women testifying through our focus group discussions how they have been influenced to give sex to get contracts. Women, and they were painfully saying these stories. We have had women in the focus group discussions testifying how they've had challenges being required by public officials to give a bribe to be included on the list of qualified providers for framework contracts.
Despite the move to have inclusiveness, many government agencies are yet to give account of how many contracts have been awarded to women-led businesses. Gilbert Sendugwa, the executive director of the Africa Freedom of Information Center, says many agencies could not tell who was given which contract. The government is reportedly spending 60% of the national budget on procurement.
The way data is being captured is not gender desegregated. If, for example, you go to Ministry of Finance and you ask of, say, 1,000 contracts that you have issued in this financial year, how many were taken by women-owned businesses? How many were taken by youth or persons with disabilities? That data is not there. And you know, what is not measured cannot be improved.
We need to know where are the women in public procurement. Who are those women who are interested in engaging with government on public procurement, and what is their capacity? What is their value? What is their worth? What is their capital muscle? Because women's capital muscle is very low, and that's why they cannot bid for good big contracts. And that's why our study also identified that most women who have engaged, the 1% who have engaged, they've only actually engaged in low value contracts. There are a very small percentage who have try to go for maybe infrastructure construction contracts, and even there they are only supplying sand, small items on projects.
According to the yet to be released PPDA guidelines, 80% of the procurement deals are reserved for women, 5% for youth and 2% for persons with disabilities. These guidelines are long overdue, and the Africa Freedom of Information Center calls for immediate issuance to foster growth of women-led businesses in securing contracts from government. The guidelines play a key role in helping women break the barriers.
We realize that from the study, the legal and policy framework in Uganda is a little weak. It's not very specific on the participation of women in public procurement. The PPDA Act, as amended, does mention participation, inclusive participation in public procurement, but does not specify what exactly will go to the women in regards to thresholds, what kind of contracts should be reserved for women, and what value of contracts should be reserved for women in procurement.
The guidelines are being developed and hope to improve women participation in supplying the government, but there are concerns over lack of formalization of women-led businesses. This has seen many shun business with government.
Public procurement. And so every woman out there should interest themselves in benefiting from this market. You can benefit from the sub-county level. You don't have to come to the Ministry of Education for you to benefit. Start from where you are. There are opportunities at every level of government, because now we have a decentralized government system.
According to the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, WUBOS, women constitute 51% of Uganda's population, and the majority are engaged in informal sector, with the report saying that only 44% of women-led businesses are formalized. Ramson, Church of Uganda Family TV, News at 8.